actually a crowdsourced topic. A while ago, I put out a poll on Twitter with a list of like a bunch of different topic ideas for what I was going to do for this talk. And this one actually came into the lead in the end, which was surprising to me because it's a bit abstracted from game development specifically, but I'll try and tie it in there. And it also gave me a clue that maybe this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So who among you, just raise a hand, who struggles with coming up with long-term goals, like setting in? Okay, good. Excellent. For those of you who do not, then maybe you can still take some information and pass it on to people you know that struggle. So let's get started. My name is Lisa, and I'm bad at setting long-term goals. But I am also a professional game designer. As George said, I'm currently at Bungie on the Sandbox team, working on the Destiny franchise. At Insomniac, I worked on several games. I worked on Resistance 3 and Sunset Overdrive, and then a small experimental game we did called Sled and Wool. I did the indie thing for a bit. I worked on my own small non-commercial games, and I also worked on Hyperlight Drifter. And I also love game jams. I made a bunch of game jam games, all different kinds. Most recently, the most recent game jam I did, we made a VR game where you perform dentistry on yourself. It was excellent. So I've had a lot of really great, fun opportunities in the games industry so far. And I want to open this up with a story about something that recently happened to me. So I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, which is just a couple hours drive from here. And recently I was home visiting family, and I went to the Muhammad Ali Center. So Muhammad Ali is, I don't know if this is true for all people from Louisville, but I know for me and a lot of people I grew up with, when you grow up in Louisville, Muhammad Ali is just sort of like injected into your subconscious as a source of inspiration and just like someone to aspire to, like a role model as you grow up. Does anyone not know who Muhammad Ali is? Excellent. All right, great. So I was at the Muhammad Ali Center, and they have this exhibit. It's called the Red Bike Moment. And the story goes that when Muhammad Ali was a kid, he had this red bike that he loved, and someone stole it, and he was really upset about it. When the policeman was taking the report, they said that they needed to find the guy who did it so he could beat him up. And the policeman was like, well, maybe you should like learn how to fight before that happens. That would be a good idea. And that moment led to him joining a gym, learning how to box, and it was this pivotal moment in his life that sort of launched him towards this long-term goal he had of becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. And in the exhibit, it encourages the visitors to think about what is your red bike moment? What is a pivotal moment in your life, a challenge or an experience that set you on your path towards your goals? And you could record a little video of you talking about it, and they would put them in the exhibit. So I was watching these videos, and these people were telling these really inspiring stories about these really admirable long-term goals in their life, and it was super inspiring. And at the end of each video, it would ask, what was your red bike moment? And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I don't think I've ever had one. I don't know if I've had any like real long-term goals my entire life. And I felt sort of bad about it. I felt like I was letting down Muhammad Ali and failing my personal legacy as a Louisvillian. So I was a little like stressed about it. And thinking back, I remembered, you know, in high school you do those activities like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And a lot of my classmates, they would have really clear visions for their future, like careers they wanted, if they wanted a family, like where they wanted to be. And for me, if I try to look into my future for anything past like maybe 6 months, it's like mist. It's just like, you know, cold off, and I just can't visualize my own future. And it's a little frustrating, but it's just something that's always been a struggle I've had. And I know people who had very, very clear long-term visions, like as children, who worked their whole lives towards this thing, and they like achieved their goals. And it's really impressive to me. They do things like they have the dream board where you like put all these like visualizations of the goal you want to achieve and keep it present at all times and like constantly work towards that goal. And it was really, really fascinating to me because I don't operate like this at all. And in fact, when I do talk about my work as a game designer, if I happen to be meeting up with people I went to high school with, they'll say things like, Lisa, I always knew that you would follow your dreams. And I'm like, well, that's very kind, but how did they know what my dreams were? I didn't even know what my dreams were in high school. Like, why won't anyone tell me what my dreams are? They don't. But in spite of this, I've had all these really great opportunities and done a lot of cool stuff. So I'm obviously haven't been directionless, but none of these things were a long-term goal of mine. In fact, most of them, I didn't know I was going to be doing them until like a couple months out at most. So I've got to do cool stuff, and so it really made me dig down and think about my process for trying to do long-term goals. And I have a hypothesis, which will be the basis of my talk today. And my hypothesis is, and maybe this is true for some of you, that if you feel like you're bad at long-term goals and that you don't have any, my hypothesis is you probably already have long-term goals, and you're probably already working on them without you realizing it. It's like a secret thing going on outside of your awareness. So today we're not going to talk about like how to come up with or how to set long-term goals. We're going to talk about how to figure out what the long-term goals you have that are already there, and like dig down, look for all the clues you need to figure out what these things are. And so I'm going to go over just a series of exercises that I've done that I've found helpful, and hopefully you will find them helpful. In particular, I think there's a certain type of person that these exercises will resonate with. Tell me if you're this person, if I'm this person. If I have a decision to make, trying to decide between two things, I don't really know like which one I want to do. It's like kind of cloudy, so I flip a coin on it. But when I do that, I don't pay attention to the results so much as how I feel about the results, because that'll tell me what I really wanted to do in the first place anyway. So like if I flip it and I'm like, oh, I'm disappointed, then I know like I did the other one, that's the one I wanted. If you're this sort of person, I think these exercises will resonate pretty well with you. And if not, then I think there's still like value in doing this sort of self-reflection stuff. And why do we even care about this? Why do we care about trying to figure out our secret long-term goals? I think it's important to like check in on these things every now and then to see if the stuff you're working on is in alignment with your values. Like is it the thing that you want to be working on? All right, so let's get started looking for clues. This is the first activity I call Identify Your Projects. It sounds pretty simple. Just list out all your projects and you're done, right? You probably have already done something like this, but there's a few extra layers that I think that make this really useful for digging up those secret goals. And this is an activity I actually did relatively recently. I was chatting with friend and mentor Jason Vandenberg last year, and Jason is a CD at Ubisoft. He's been in the industry for many, many years and has much knowledge and wisdom to share. And I was talking with him about how I struggle with coming up with long-term goals. So he walked me through this exercise. So the first thing you do is you make a list of all the projects you're working on and all the projects you want to be doing. And when I say projects, like, yeah, that's like, oh, the game I'm working on right now. But it should also be any activity in your life that it takes more than one action step to complete is a project. So you want to make your list super thorough. So you might have things like, I want to finish my game, that's a project. I want to stream game development more often, or I want to read more game design books to try to be a better designer. But also included in projects are maybe you're raising a family. That's like a huge project in your life. Or maybe you're managing an unexpected health complication, which I can attest to is a big project. And like, I don't know, maybe you like want to have a garden or something. I don't know. Just the point is be very thorough with this list. And by now you would have a tidy list of all the projects that you're doing, all the things you want to do. And then this comes the next step in the activity, which is important, because this is where we look at all those projects and we find out which ones are really your projects and which ones are actually just, imagined fairy tales that aren't actually things you're going to work on. So for this step, you take your list, you go through each item on your list, and you imagine Jason Vandenberg sitting across from you, veteran designer, much knowledge. Imagine him sitting on the other side of the table. And for every project in that list, imagine that he looks at you intently, and he says, are you willing to work on this today? Simple question. But it's okay. All right, sorry. So this is the important question. And you answer it honestly for everything on your list. And a lot of times what will happen is you end up with a list of, here are things that are important to me, but I'm not willing to spend any time on them today. And that's telling, that's a clue. And if you want, you can explore like, well, why do I not want to spend time on it? But I actually tend to leave out that part because if I do that, I usually end up making excuses for myself because I feel guilty. So I usually skip that part and just focus on like, yes or no, am I willing to spend time on this today? Because it forces me to be more honest. And the point is, like, rather than listing your projects and trying to order them in priority of how important they are, this is more about thinking of, like, what are the 2 or 3 things I want to get done at this moment in my life? The things that you don't immediately want to take action on, they might be things that you actually really don't care about at this moment, and that's okay. So this is all about, like, looking at the present to extrapolate what is important to you about the future. And you might ask, okay, well, you know, how much time spent are we counting here? Because maybe you have a really like good reason for why I can't do this today, but this is really important to me. So like how much time should I invest on these projects for it to really count? And for that, I turned to Jesse Schell, another friend and mentor of mine, for a good reference for this. Jesse is a game designer, but in a former life he was a circus performer and he juggles, and he still juggles to this day. And we were talking about, you know, like hobbies and how he still like practices, you know, how much time. I was like, how much time minimum should I put in if I like wanted to learn to do this? And he's like, 20 minutes every other day. I'm like, why do you think so? He's like, well, I figure if you can't do something for 20 minutes every other day, then it probably wasn't really important to you anyway, and you should just cut it and move on and reallocate that time to something that is important to you. So I find this to be like a useful benchmark when I'm thinking about this. And most importantly, if you do your list and you have these things that you thought were really important to you and it turns out they're not, that's okay. You don't need to feel guilty about this. It doesn't mean that thing is banned from your life forever. It's just a good gut check about what things you work on are more in alignment with the goals that you might have for the long term. Remember, this is all about figuring out clues. So your resulting list is a good clue. As an example, I'll do, this is a list of things, you know, last year I was trying to figure out this sort of stuff. And this was a list of things that I was working on, or things that I wanted to work on, and I did that thing. I went through and asked the question about whether I was willing to spend any time on it that day. So I culled out some like immediately, and then I just like, I went through it again, and I ended up highlighting a few that were really the important things, and so it made me realize, okay, like these are like the important things in my life. And again, humans have a bad habit of extrapolating the present state into infinity. So it's easy to think that this doesn't mean that I'm never going to participate in another game jam or something. This is just like thinking about where you are in the moment and sort of using that to judge the future. So in our little toolbox of activities, identify your projects, but really what this is more, it's like identifying your unprojects, focusing on the things that are actually important to you. On to activity number 2, which I call the why interrogation. And some of you have probably heard of this technique, or if you have small children, you've probably experienced this firsthand. So this is Sekiji Toyota, who founded the Toyota company. And he sort of is known for establishing this system called the 5 whys, which was a technique for discovering the root cause of a problem. And so the example you'll see is, you know, it's a car company, so the problem is the vehicles won't start. So basically you go through, and for every step you ask, why is this the case? Why won't the vehicle start? Well, the battery is dead. Why is the battery dead? Well, the alternator is not functioning. And so on and so forth. You get deeper and deeper until ultimately you get down to something that's like a root cause of the problem. And this is really good for sort of this technical problem situation, but it's also a really useful technique for finding more clues about what your long-term goals are. And it works really good paired with that first activity. So here's what you do for this. You take your list of projects that survived that first activity, and you go through your projects and you're like, why? Why am I doing this? And you go deeper and deeper to sort of figure out more like the root goals you have. So again, this was my list at the end of 2016. I condensed it somewhat. So I'm just going to focus on like a couple of them to give an example of what this activity looked like. So one big one was I was doing a residency at Harrisburg University, so a big project was, doing these game dev seminars and advising students and stuff, and mentoring students. And so I went through and I was like, why am I doing this? And one reason is because I'm getting paid for it, that's valid. But I wanted to think about like more deeply, why this? Because there are things that pay way more than this, so why was I doing this specifically? And I realized it's because I value the education of other game developers. Okay, so why? Why do I value that? Thought about it, and I was like, well, it's because I like to share game dev knowledge. And why? And then I was like, well, I feel really good when I've learned that I've helped others get better at what they do. And as I was doing this for each project, I noticed that there was a pattern. There was this root cause was showing up from multiple projects. Like, here's another one. One was like, I was going to participate in the game design book club and read a game dev book every month. That was a project. Why? Why was I doing that? And I was like, well, I want to be a better designer. Why? Well, if I acquire more knowledge, then I have more knowledge that I can share. Why do I want to share knowledge? And it's like back down to this thing again. And here's a one that came out of the same root from a different sort of perspective. So I have some health issues, and last year I was very ill, so it was a big project of mine to get well, to like see doctors and all that sort of stuff and get healthier. I was like, okay, well, why? Why do I want to get healthier? Well, I want to have a long and healthy life. But why? Well, it's because I want to have lots of time to get better at what I do. And why do I want to get better at what I do? And it's like, I want to share my knowledge, and because blah, blah, blah. It's the same root. So when you do this activity, what you're looking for patterns or root causes that are repeated, because those are very good clues about what your secret long-term goals actually are. So for me, the pattern was I want to get better at game development so that I have more knowledge to share with people because it makes me feel good when I learn to help people. And so what I really want to do, I want to feel good from helping people. And this is a nice thing to identify because it's quite general. Like I could get to this through many different paths. So it's good to know. It's like, okay, this is like a long-term thing that I'm working on, and it's kind of liberating because I realize there are many different ways I could get to this. All right, so that activity, the why interrogation, what you're doing there is you're looking for commonalities, you're looking for patterns. You're looking for, when you do that deep questioning why, you're looking for things that might be different projects that have the same root reason. So that's a good one for finding those clues. So for the next one, this addresses a slightly different problem in the struggle of setting long-term goals. Maybe you're in a situation where you know you're not quite where you want to be, but you don't know where that is. Like maybe when you did that project list, it came up a little barren, or you didn't have anything super interesting to you. You're not quite satisfied with what you're doing, but you don't know what that next step is. Or maybe you're a student and you you want to work in games, but you don't know exactly what you want to be working on. And this is really good for that. And this is an activity I'll call the resume focus. And on surface, this might appear to be just like advice on how to fancy up your resume, but it's actually, once again, it's a tool that you can use to get clues about your innermost goals. And so, like, the other two activities were sort of gut checks about what you're doing in the present and how it relates to the future. This is more about figuring out if you're on a path that you actually want to be on. So a big problem I see with a lot of student resumes is they're way too general. Like a student doesn't necessarily have a lot of experience, so they just try and cram every piece of relevant experience and information into a resume in hopes that there'll be something on there that a viewer might notice and might find useful. Like if you've ever had a business card that said, designer / writer / programmer / animator, that's sort of what I'm talking about. And I was that person as a student. So this activity will help you sort of focus on more specific goals. So for a fun time, I'm going to show you my my student resume from when I was in school. I'm going to show you two versions. I'm going to show you the terrible version, and then the slightly less terrible version after I did this exercise. So, like I said, when I was in school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of different skills, but I didn't know how to focus them. And you can see this, I was like an objective. I was like, well, I want an internship and maybe like producing, because you get to sort of touch all parts of the project. And I'm like, in some industry, like maybe location-based, maybe games, would it be bad if I listed all three? Wait, come back. Oh no, you took it away from me. This one. Yeah, way back. All right, great. And I did this thing where I was like, well, I did texture art on this project, and I was an animator on this project, and I used to be a web applications developer, and that's kind of a useful skill, and I was an illustrator, so I'll put that on there, and I used to work in the theater, so I was basically taking all of my different experiences and dumping them in this resume. And this is not a good resume. Like, this is, as someone who reads something like this, it's just like all over the place, and you have no idea like what this person wants to do or if they can help you. It's just like super general, and I see this a lot. And so, I was oh no. Yeah. Although it didn't go to the slide. So I was in school and I was like, this is terrible. And Jesse Schill actually came to the rescue again. He was like, okay, what you need to do is you just need to pick a focus, like pick a target, and just sort of focus your resume on that target. And I was like, but I don't know what I want to do. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter what target you pick. Just pick something and start adjusting your resume towards that. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, okay. So I did that. I was like, all right, well, I know that Disney is hiring interns for engineering, so I'll just do the producer and location-based thing. So I went through my resume. I started like adjusting my wording, prioritizing experience that was directly relevant to that. And while I was doing this, I was feeling kind of bad about it. I was feeling like, I don't know, I wasn't really inspired or excited, and it just felt like wrong. And eventually I was like, no, this is not it. This is not the thing I want to do. And I did this several times with several different industries before I landed on the games one. And I'm not going to show it to you because I don't want to create the technical disaster again. But it's the same information as was on my crappy unfocused resume. It's just reworded to focus on game design. So yeah, on those projects I did production and I did texture art, but the key thing that I did on those projects was design. So I put that first, and I talked about what were the design things I was doing. And it was way more focused. And as a result, I got an internship, and it was great. But more importantly, I was able to sort of phase out things that I wasn't sure about. Like, once I tried to do this with those industries, then it helped me be like, okay, yeah, no, that's actually not where I want to go. So for this resume focused activity, what you do is pick a specific target. Even if you are not sure, you're like, I really don't know if this is the one I want. Just pick anything. Pick something, anything, and pick that target. Prioritize your experiences that are most relevant to that target. Prioritize wording that emphasizes that role. Remember that your resume is a tool. A resume, a lot of people treat it like a list of your experiences, but it's not. A resume is a tool. The purpose of the tool is to help the reader, at a glance, as quickly as possible, understand if you have the skill set to fit what they need. So design it as a tool. Think about usability, and most importantly, pay attention to how you feel during this process. If you're doing this for one particular role and you're just not feeling great about it, that's a clue, and it's important. And anyone who's taken a standardized test knows that if you can eliminate one of the options, that's really good for trying to find the next thing. And remember that coin flipping thing. The activity itself, like you might end up with a nice resume for it, but the purpose is to assess what you're thinking and feeling while you're crafting it. So this is why this is useful not just for students, but even if you already have a job, it can be a useful exercise to do. All right. So that was the resume focus, and the purpose of this is just to figure out what you're actually excited about as a way to sort of cut through when you're overwhelmed by indecision. Cut through and figure out which goals you're excited about, which then will give you more clues about what you ultimately want to do. All right, so I'm going to take a big drink of water. For the next activity, this is for maybe you're in another situation. Maybe you have a project that you're working on, and it's very important to you, and all the exercise you've done has pointed to this as being a very important project. The project is treadmilling. And what I mean by that is you're working on this project, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It's sort of stuck in the present, and you can't see its long-term future. So this next activity is going to address that situation. So Jacob Koziel is a game designer. He made the game Little Alchemy, which is an excellent game, and he gave a talk at Amaze, Johannesburg, last year, I think. It was a great talk, and I don't know if they record those, but it was basically about all the elements of a game project that you have to keep in alignment for it to keep moving forward. And so he talked about these 4 things. It's like the resources you have, the time you have, the audience your game is for, and your goals for the project. And you have to keep these things aligned with each other. And a lot of times, you have to keep it updated because circumstances change. So a lot of times, one of these will change on someone, like maybe your time frame changes. And people they'll like try and like address the time frame thing, but keep all the other elements the same. And that can cause it to just like go terribly wrong. So when basically one of these things gets pulled out of alignment and you have to adjust for it. His point was that you have to go back and like adjust all these things because a change in one can make changes in the other. So for the goals one, this part of the reason is this is so important is you can't keep these elements of your project aligned if you don't know what your goal is for the project. And if your goal has secretly changed on you without you realizing, it can end up in a project that is stagnated, that is, you're working and working, but it's not going anywhere. And there are probably many ways to address this problem, but for this activity, I'm going to share a rather extreme exercise that I've done that's helped me with treadmilling projects and getting them to move forward. And I like to call it the threat of the coal. And it's a very simple activity. So you take your project that is treadmilling, and you come up with, make a milestone for yourself, something like some significant progress you want to make on this project. And you then create a pact with yourself, which basically says, if I don't make progress on this project by this date, I will kill the project. It'll be done. I will never work on it again. And I'm serious about that. When I say kill the project, I mean kill the project. You don't set it aside to work on it again sometime in the future. You will bury it, you will erase it from your hard drive, it will cease to exist. This is very serious. You have to be 100% serious about this for this to work. And if it helps to make a paper contract and sign it in blood, whatever you have to do to get yourself to take this seriously. And then a lot of times 1 of 2 things will happen. Your psychological fear of this happening will kick you into gear to really focus on moving it forward and figuring out your goals for it. Or you don't make it and then you kill the project. And maybe that's okay because that project probably wasn't as important to you as you thought. Now this is a very extreme exercise. I do not attempt this. If you are suffering a depression, do not attempt this project because your depression will interfere with the ability to make progress. Recovering from an injury, do not do this is a serious activity. It is serious business. Don't do it extreme measure. Now I have done this several times in my life. And some of the projects I did regained their momentum, and I launched them forward and finished. But many did not survive, and I closed the door on a number of projects, never to be opened again. But the interesting thing is I have no regrets. Doing this activity on those projects revealed to me that they weren't actually important to me, and that the only reason I was working on them at all was because I felt some sense of obligation, just because I had a project that I had to work on the project. So this is really good for figuring those pieces out. And again, if you're able to cut a project out of your life that wasn't important to you, it means you have more time and energy to allocate to the ones that are actually going to advance you towards your secret long-term goals. So the thread of the poll is a useful activity for moving on from stagnant projects. But again, it's extreme exercise. Use with caution. All right, so I'm going to do some rapid-fire conclusions about these exercises and the idea of setting long-term goals and figuring out what your secret missions are. Remember the hypothesis. You probably have long-term goals, and you're probably working on them in secret without you realizing it. And it's good to check in on those and try and figure out what those are. Don't follow a long-term goal just because it's a long-term goal. Figure out if it's really important to you, and if you really want to be working on it, use extreme measures if necessary. Be aware that doing these sorts of exercises can sometimes lead you to confront uncomfortable innermost truths about yourself. I'll give a quick example. So remember the why question exercise, kind of where you keep asking why and you go deeper and deeper. And I actually, for this part, I kept going deeper with these why statements, and it made me confront some startling truths about myself. It's like, okay, because I feel good. When I learned I've helped others get better, like, why do I feel good when that happens? It's because I want people to love me and think I'm useful. Why? Because I want to be an actual needed asset. Why? Because I fear being discarded. So you don't have to go this deep. Like, just stop. When you get to something that feels useful, just stop. Just stop. Because it leads to some interesting places. Also, all of this doesn't mean that if you're someone who is good at setting long-term goals, it doesn't mean it's bad. Like, it doesn't mean that people who set long-term goals are silly or doing it wrong. It's just they're different people. They have different things that work for them. It's good to wrestle with introspection from time to time like this, but don't be consumed by it. You can get caught up thinking so much about your goals and your projects that you don't actually work on anything. You don't want to get into that state. And lastly, and perhaps the most important point about long-term goals is long-term goals are not an end point. They're a tool to get you to move forward. So thinking about Muhammad Ali again, his big goal was to become the heavyweight champion of the world. But Muhammad Ali's legacy goes so much farther beyond that. All of his humanitarian work and all of these huge contributions he made to the world happened after that goal was achieved. So long-term goals are not endpoints. They are tools to move you forward through time. So make them work for you instead of cause you stress. And that is my talk. Thank you very much.